30 minutes ago, a packed town hall in Marrow Creek erupted as a 9-year mystery finally shattered into 1,000 pieces. Families wept, reporters scrambled for their phones. After nearly a decade of sleepless nights, the truth about Lilly and Jack Sullivan was finally revealed. Have you ever wondered what happened to someone who just vanished? Have you felt that crushing weight when answers seem impossible? That gnawing feeling in your stomach when you realize someone you care about might never come home? Tonight, in this very room where hope had died 1,000 deaths, Detective Rowan Maddox stepped forward with words that would change everything. His voice trembled as he spoke into the microphone, addressing the Sullivan family directly. 2 innocent children. One autumn night, gone without a trace. For 9 long years, the residents of Marrow Creek lived with questions that haunted their dreams. Where was 16-year-old Lilly Sullivan and her 13-year-old brother Jack? What happened after they left the fall festival that October evening in 2015? If cases like this fascinate you, smash that like button right now, because what you are about to hear will shake you to your core. The confession that came 30 minutes ago did not just solve a cold case, it exposed a truth so disturbing, so calculated, that even seasoned investigators struggled to comprehend how someone could destroy 2 young lives over what he called just a joke. Adrian Jorgensen. That name means nothing to you now, but by the end of this story, you will never forget it. His chilling admission to police has finally given the Sullivan family the answers they desperately needed, but at a cost that no parent should ever have to pay. This is their story. This is how justice finally found its way home to Marrow Creek. Before we explore the darkness that consumed this family, you need to understand who Lilly and Jack Sullivan really were, because they were not just statistics, they were not just names on a missing person report. They were the heartbeat of a community that loved them deeply. Lilly Sullivan was 16 years old with dreams bigger than the small town that raised her. Every Sunday morning, her piano melodies drifted from the old church on Elm Street, filling the sanctuary with music that made grown men weep. She had this gift, you see, this ability to take classical pieces and make them feel like they were written just for you. Her younger brother Jack was 13 and absolutely fascinated by the natural world around him. While other kids played video games, Jack spent hours cataloging every butterfly, every bird, every creeping thing he could find. His science teacher, Mr. Halverson, used to joke that Jack knew more about local wildlife than most college professors. Their parents, Dr. Fiona Sullivan and Marcus Sullivan, were pillars of the Marrow Creek community. Dr. Sullivan had delivered half the babies in town over her 20-year career as a pediatrician. Marcus taught history at the local high school and had this incredible gift for bringing the past to life through storytelling. In a town where everyone knew everyone else's business, the Sullivans stood out for all the right reasons. Lilly tutored struggling students for free. Jack volunteered at the animal shelter every Saturday morning. This was a family that gave more than they took. Priya Desai, Lilly's best friend since childhood, remembered their last conversation. She was excited about applying to music conservatories. We spent hours researching schools, dreaming about our futures. She wanted to become a music therapist, to help people heal through music. Jack's nature journal, discovered in his bedroom after the disappearance, contained over 200 detailed drawings of local species. Each entry was meticulously dated and annotated. The final entry was dated October 13th, 2015, one day before everything changed. Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you do if your loved ones vanished without a trace? How would you find the strength to keep going when everyone around you starts to give up hope? But on October 14th, 2015, the Sullivan family's perfect world was about to crumble. What started as a celebration of community and tradition would end in a nightmare that would consume their lives for nearly a decade. October 14th, 2015, the annual Marrow Creek High School Fall Festival was in full swing. Jack-o'-lanterns lined the walkways. The smell of caramel apples and hot cider filled the crisp autumn air. Families strolled between game booths and food vendors, their laughter echoing across the school grounds. At 8:15 that evening, Lilly Sullivan took the stage for what would become her final public performance. She had chosen Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, a piece that required not just technical skill but emotional depth that most teenagers simply did not possess. But Lilly was not like most teenagers. As her fingers found the first notes, a hush fell over the crowded auditorium. For 7 minutes and 32 seconds, she transported 300 people to another world. Parents wiped away tears. Fellow students stopped their conversations. Even the maintenance staff paused their cleanup duties to listen. The standing ovation lasted nearly 2 minutes. Lilly beamed as she curtsied, her dark hair catching the stage lights. She scanned the crowd until she found her family. Her parents stood with hands clasped over their hearts. Jack gave her an enthusiastic thumbs up from the third row. While Lilly had been performing, Jack had been busy with his own project. He had volunteered to help design the haunted house attraction, using his knowledge of local wildlife to create creepy-crawly displays that would make visitors squirm. His enthusiasm was infectious, and soon other students were following his lead. At 9:30 that evening, the festival began to wind down. Vendors started packing up their booths. Families with young children headed to their cars. The parking lot, which had been packed just an hour earlier, was now half empty. Security footage from the school would later show Lilly and Jack Sullivan leaving the festival grounds at exactly 9:34 in the evening. They walked arm in arm, as they had done countless times before. Lilly carried her sheet music in a burgundy folder. Jack had his nature journal tucked under his arm. The walk home should have taken them 18 minutes. They had made this journey hundreds of times before, past the old Methodist church, past the miller's farm, down Oak Street, and onto their quiet residential block. But when midnight struck, the Sullivan family home remained dark and empty. Dr. Fiona Sullivan had been reading in bed when she realized her children had not come home. She called Marcus from his study. Together, they began making phone calls, first to friends, next to neighbors, finally to anyone who might have seen their children after the festival. "Have you seen Lilly and Jack?" became the question that echoed through Marrow Creek that night. Every phone call ended with the same answer: no. By 1 o'clock in the morning, the Marrow Creek Police Department had launched a full search operation. Officers knocked on doors, volunteers grabbed flashlights, and combed the nearby woods. Search dogs were brought in from the county sheriff's office. But it was 16-year-old Tommy Chen who made the first devastating discovery. While searching the drainage ditch along the main road, his flashlight beam caught something that made his blood run cold. Lilly's cell phone, its screen shattered beyond repair, lay partially buried in fallen leaves. That broken phone would become the first piece in a puzzle that would take 9 years to solve. Detective Rowan Maddox had been investigating violent crimes for over 20 years, but the Sullivan case consumed him in ways he had never experienced before. Within 48 hours of the disappearance, his office was filled with evidence boxes, witness statements, and photographs that painted a picture of 2 children who had simply vanished into thin air. Every lead felt promising at first. A gas station attendant remembered seeing a white van parked near the school that evening. Multiple witnesses reported a strange man lingering near the festival grounds, someone who did not seem to belong. Former students of Marcus Sullivan were questioned about possible grudges or complaints. But every promising lead eventually crumbled under scrutiny. The white van belonged to a catering company that had worked the festival. The strange man turned out to be a grandfather visiting from out of state. The disgruntled students had solid alibis for that evening. Weeks turned into months. Search teams combed through every inch of the surrounding countryside. Metal detectors swept through fields and forests. Divers searched the creek that ran behind the school. Cadaver dogs investigated every abandoned building within a 50-mile radius. The investigation expanded beyond Marrow Creek. Missing person alerts were sent to every law enforcement agency in the state. Billboards with Lilly and Jack's photographs appeared along major highways. Their faces were featured on national television programs dedicated to unsolved cases. Dr. Celeste Morin, one of the region's leading forensic analysts, worked tirelessly to extract every possible piece of information from the physical evidence. The shattered phone was examined with every available technology. Blood traces found on a park bench were analyzed and reanalyzed. Even the smallest fibers were catalogued and studied. But the evidence told a frustrating story of fragments and possibilities, rather than concrete answers. The blood on the bench was too degraded to yield a complete DNA profile. The phone's memory had been corrupted by water damage. Every test seemed to raise more questions than it answered. As the first anniversary of the disappearance approached, community meetings became increasingly tense. Residents demanded answers that law enforcement simply could not provide. Some accused the police of incompetence. Others suggested that the family was somehow involved in their own children's disappearance. The accusations against the Sullivan family were particularly cruel. Dr. Fiona Sullivan was forced to take a leave of absence from her medical practice after patients began questioning her involvement. Marcus Sullivan faced suspicious glances from colleagues and parents at school board meetings. By the second anniversary, the case had officially been classified as cold. Detective Maddox was reassigned to other investigations, though he continued working the Sullivan case during his off hours. The media attention faded, the billboards were taken down. The community began to accept that Lilly and Jack Sullivan might never be found. But the Sullivan family refused to surrender. They established the Light for Lilly and Jack Foundation, dedicating themselves to supporting other families dealing with missing persons cases. Every fundraiser, every memorial vigil, every television interview kept their children's names in the public consciousness. Years passed. Detective Maddox's hair turned grey. Dr. Morin published research papers on forensic technology. The Sullivan parents celebrated birthdays their children would never see. Jack would have graduated high school. Lilly would have started her career as a music therapist. Have you ever seen a case go cold in your community? Have you watched as hope slowly died in the eyes of desperate families? Share your story in the comments below, because what happened next in the Sullivan case proves that hope should never be abandoned. 7 years after the investigation had stalled, advances in technology would finally provide the breakthrough that everyone had been praying for. By 2022, the landscape of criminal investigation had transformed dramatically. Digital forensics had evolved from a specialized skill to an essential tool in solving cold cases. The Regional Crime and Protection Management decided it was time to take another look at unsolved cases using these new capabilities. The Cold Case Task Force was formed with a specific mission to revisit every unsolved case from the past 15 years using cutting-edge technology and fresh investigative approaches. Detective Rowan Maddox, now nearing retirement, was asked to lead the initiative. His first request was to reopen the Sullivan case. The task force was joined by Tessa Okwu, a 28-year-old investigator who had grown up in Marrow Creek. She remembered the Sullivan children, though she had been too young to know them personally. Her passion for justice and her innovative approach to cold case investigation made her the perfect addition to the team. Dr. Celeste Morin, now recognized as a leading expert in digital forensics, was excited to apply new techniques to the Sullivan case. The damaged phone that had been discovered on the night of the disappearance had been stored in evidence for 7 years, waiting for technology to catch up with the investigation. When we originally examined this device in 2015, we recovered maybe 10% of the data, Dr. Morin explained to the camera. Today's recovery software can extract information from devices that we previously thought were completely destroyed. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning in March. Dr. Morin was running the phone through a new data recovery program when something unexpected appeared on her screen. Text message fragments that had been invisible 7 years earlier were suddenly readable. One message, sent at 9:26 in the evening on October 14, 2015, was addressed to someone identified only as AJ. The message read, "Leaving now, see you by the old oak tree like we planned." The discovery of this message changed everything. Tessa Okwu immediately began cross-referencing school records, looking for anyone with the initials AJ who might have had contact with Lilly Sullivan. The search parameters were expanded to include former students, family friends, and community members. The investigation revealed something that had been overlooked during the original case. A student named Adrian Jorgensen had been enrolled in Lilly's music class during the first semester of 2015. He had withdrawn from school in November, just 3 weeks after the Sullivan children disappeared. Adrian Jorgensen had been described by teachers as quiet and withdrawn. He struggled academically and had few friends. His participation in music class had been inconsistent, and he had often seemed distracted or agitated during lessons. Tessa Okwu's investigation into Adrian's background revealed a troubling pattern. After leaving Marrow Creek High School, he had bounced between several states, never staying in one place for more than a few months. He had been arrested twice for minor offenses, but had never been connected to any violent crimes. The task force began tracking Adrian's movements over the past 7 years. He had worked various jobs under different names: construction work in Colorado, restaurant kitchen staff in Arizona, warehouse work in Nevada, always moving, always avoiding permanent connections. By May of 2022, the investigators had narrowed down Adrian's location to a small town in Oregon. He was working at a lumber mill under the name Adrian Johnson, but his fingerprints matched the records from his high school enrollment. For 2 weeks, the task force coordinated with Oregon law enforcement to observe Adrian's routine. He lived alone in a small apartment. He drove a beat-up pickup truck. He seemed to have no close relationships or social connections. On May 23, 2022, Adrian Jorgensen was arrested at his workplace. The arrest was quiet and professional. His co-workers barely looked up as he was led away in handcuffs. But it was what happened during the interrogation that would finally bring closure to the Sullivan family and answers to a community that had waited 7 long years for the truth. The confession that followed would be more disturbing than anyone could have anticipated. Adrian Jorgensen sat across from Detective Maddox and Investigator Okwu for 3 hours before he finally broke. The weight of carrying this secret for 7 years had taken its toll. His hands shook as he reached for the paper cup of water they had provided. "I never meant for it to happen the way it did," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the hum of the recording equipment. "It was supposed to be a joke, just a stupid joke to scare them." Detective Maddox had conducted hundreds of interrogations over his career, but nothing had prepared him for what he was about to hear. He kept his voice steady and professional as he encouraged Adrian to continue. Adrian's confession revealed a planned encounter that had gone horribly wrong. He had developed an obsession with Lilly Sullivan during their brief time together in music class. When she had been kind to him, helping him with a difficult piece, he had misinterpreted her friendship as romantic interest. "She was different from the other kids," Adrian continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "She actually talked to me like I mattered. I thought maybe she felt the same way I did." The text message recovered from Lilly's phone had been Adrian's invitation to meet him after the festival. He had convinced her that he had found something she would want to see, something related to a rare bird species that Jack had been hoping to photograph for his nature journal. "I told them I had seen a great horned owl nesting near the old oak tree," Adrian admitted. "Jack got so excited about it. Lilly said they could spare a few minutes to take a look." But when they reached the secluded area, Adrian's intentions became clear. He had not found a bird's nest. He had lured them there to confess his feelings to Lilly, convinced that away from the crowd, she would finally understand how much he cared about her. When she said no, when she started to walk away, I lost it. I grabbed her arm to stop her from leaving. Jack tried to protect his sister. He pushed me away from her. What happened next would haunt Adrian for the rest of his life. In his desperation to stop them from leaving, to prevent them from telling anyone about his behavior, he had made a decision that destroyed 3 lives forever. "There was this old hunting cabin about a mile deeper into the woods," Adrian continued. "I thought if I could just get them to listen, if I could make them understand, everything would be okay." The cabin had been abandoned for decades. Hunters had used it years earlier, but it had been forgotten by most residents of Marrow Creek. It was the perfect place to hide something that should never be found. When investigators searched the cabin based on Adrian's directions, they found evidence that confirmed every detail of his confession. Lilly's burgundy music folder, Jack's nature journal, items that had been missing for 7 years. The physical evidence corroborated Adrian's story in ways that made denial impossible. After 7 years of wondering, the Sullivan family finally had their answers. But knowing the truth would not ease their pain. The press conference that revealed Adrian Jorgensen's confession was unlike anything Marrow Creek had ever experienced. National news crews filled the small town hall. The Sullivan family sat in the front row, holding hands as Detective Maddox prepared to address the crowd. "We are shattered by these revelations," read the statement from the Sullivan family attorney, Marisol Vega. "Yet we are thankful that at last, the truth has emerged. Our dearest Lilly and Jack were lights that brightened our lives and our community." Dr. Fiona Sullivan had aged dramatically during the 7 years since her children disappeared. Her once dark hair was now silver, and lines of grief marked her face. But as the truth was revealed, something in her expression shifted. Not peace, but perhaps the beginning of acceptance. Marcus Sullivan addressed the media directly. "We want to thank everyone who never gave up on our children. Detective Maddox, Dr. Moran, Investigator Okwu, and countless community members who refused to let Lilly and Jack be forgotten." Detective Maddox struggled to maintain his professional composure as he spoke about the case that had defined his final years in law enforcement. "This case has forever changed who we are as investigators and as human beings. We pursued every lead because we knew that Lilly and Jack deserved to be heard and remembered." Dr. Moran emphasized how advances in forensic science had made the breakthrough possible. Innovations in digital forensics allowed us to piece together a story that had been hidden in fragmented data that once recovered told the truth of that fateful night. Investigator Tessa Okwu, whose fresh perspective had been crucial to solving the case, became emotional as she addressed the community. Growing up in Marrow Creek, I admired the legacy of the Sullivan family. To contribute to unveiling the truth behind their disappearance is an honor that I will carry throughout my lifetime. The Sullivan family announced that the Light for Lilly and Jack Foundation would expand its mission. They planned to establish scholarships for aspiring forensic scientists and to support families affected by violent disappearances. The foundation that had begun as a way to keep their children's memory alive would now help prevent other families from experiencing the same tragedy. The breakthrough in the Sullivan case sent ripples far beyond Marrow Creek. Cold case units across the country began re-examining their unsolved investigations with new technology. The Regional Crime and Protection Management's Cold Case Task Force became a model for other law enforcement agencies. For a community that had lived with unanswered questions for 7 years, the truth brought a complex mixture of grief and relief. The mystery was solved, but the pain of loss would never fully heal. The Sullivan case teaches us lessons that extend far beyond criminal investigation. It reminds us that evil can hide behind the most ordinary faces, that obsession disguised as affection can lead to unspeakable tragedy, that sometimes what appears to be kindness can mask dangerous intentions. But this story also demonstrates the power of persistence. Detective Maddox could have given up when the case went cold. Dr. Morin could have accepted that the technology simply was not advanced enough. Investigator Okwu could have assumed that 7 years was too long to find new evidence. Instead, they proved that justice delayed is not justice denied, that advances in technology can breathe new life into investigations that seemed hopeless, that fresh eyes and innovative approaches can solve mysteries that have stumped experienced investigators. Most importantly, the Sullivan family showed us that love transcends loss. Their decision to channel their grief into helping others, to create a foundation that would prevent other families from experiencing their pain, transforms their tragedy into a force for good. What did this case teach you about perseverance, about the importance of never giving up on the people we love? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe that every victim deserves justice, smash that subscribe button right now. Ring the notification bell so you never miss when we solve the unsolvable. Next week, we will investigate another case that law enforcement thought was closed forever, until a single photograph changed everything. Remember Lilly and Jack Sullivan? Remember that their light continues to shine through the lives they touch and the justice they finally received.